Hey everybody, it's Charlie James. This is Charlie James Unscripted. Couple things to talk to you about today. CNN headline this morning: America's 9/11 amnesia. They tried to come across as some great patriotic news organization this morning in remembering 9/11. But as I recall, they were the first ones to pull the 9/11 footage off the air. We're not going to show this anymore. It instills too much hatred, too much anger, too many bad feelings. I personally thought they should still show it to this day, every day. But they tried to say that you have forgotten about 9/11. That was the headline that they wrote this morning. New York Times headline this morning: it was 18 years ago that planes took aim at the World Trade Centers. Well, it wasn't planes that did it. It was terrorists that did it. Actual people in those planes who committed the worst mass murder that this country's ever seen. That's what happened on this day 18 years ago. It wasn't that planes all of a sudden went rogue and flew into the World Trade Center and in Pennsylvania and hit the Pentagon. It wasn't planes that did that. It was terrorists that did that. If there's any amnesia in the world, it's because of these news organizations like the New York Times and of course CNN, CNBC, all the rest. So let's just kind of tie this together with my interview with Mark Williamson, who's going to be talking. He's with the National Review. He's a senior fellow with the National Review. I just got off the phone with him. Did an interview. We'll play that for you tomorrow morning. He's going to be speaking at the Charleston meeting. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of reception he gets at the Charleston meeting, because in my conversation with him, he tried to make me think that the American people, the only reason that they voted for Donald Trump, and the only reason that you would vote for Donald Trump again, is because you simply do not like the Democratic candidate for president. He said, basically, he said, as long as, these guys are getting all these great numbers because it's just they're under the Democrat banner. But once we get down to a single individual, whether it be Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren, all that, then the polls will tighten up. We will see. We'll see what happens with that. But he tried to, what kind of got me is he tried to say that that the only reason Trump won is because you didn't like Hillary. That was it. If they'd have had any other candidate up there, and I'm assuming this is what he meant by this, any other candidate, and the Democrats would be in the White House today. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I think a lot of what these people do, writers with the National Review, other organizations, CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, they're so in their own heads that they forget to talk to you. They forget to ask you face to face what your opinion is. They'll take their polls, they'll take their sampling data, they'll listen to their consultants, they'll do this, that, and the other thing, but they rarely get out and actually talk to people. Have good conversations. Why did you vote for Trump? Well, I thought blah, 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 blah. The vast majority of the people, almost all the people that I speak with, simply like the job the president is doing. And of course, he went on to say stuff like, well, if you like, anyway, you can listen to the interview tomorrow morning. But I think a lot of times these pundits and these experts get in their own heads so much that they forget that there's a guy out there going to work, putting on overalls and coming home covered in grease every night, trying to feed his family and make sure that his family is safe. I really think they forget that people go to the voting booth, not the polls. The polls don't go to the voting booth. The polls are simply a tool that these people use. It dehumanizes people. And I think that's what they try to do. I think they try to take out the human element in a lot of these things. It was kind of like, remember Sully Sullenberger and that movie? Well, what Sully Sullenberger went through was amazing. And in his trial, it was a hearing that they had, they brought these expert pilots in and they put them in the cockpit. And as soon as the bird strike happened on that plane, they immediately turned toward the airport and every one of them made it back. Every one of them made it back. Plenty of time to go back and land that plane with the flight time that they had. What Sullenberger said is you've taken something out of this. You've taken out the human element. You've taken out the decision-making process. And once they added 30 to 45 seconds to that process, none of them made it back. A lot of these polls, a lot of these pundits always forget to take out the human element, to take out what you're feeling, how you want this country to go. And I think that's a big mistake. I think that's a mistake that they made in 2016, and I think that's a mistake they could make in 2020. I'm Charlie James. This is Unscripted.